You've heard of ChatGPT, most likely, if you're watching this, and you've probably even heard of the API. But have you heard of AutoGPT? AutoGPT is amazing. It's insane. It will take everything about ChatGPT and the API and automate it. You give it one simple task and it just goes. It can access the internet, it can Google, it can do research, it can print reports, it can run code. This is going to blow your mind. I'm going to show you how to access AutoGPT, install AutoGPT, and use it, and some cybersecurity applications coming up. Hey everybody, this is Clint again with ThreatGEN, and welcome to the Cybersecurity Superhuman series. This is going to blow your mind. So I literally just started using OpenGPT, which is a derivative of not necessarily ChatGPT, although technically it is, because you're using the Chat 3.5 Turbo model. But sorry, I had a catch in my throat. Live TV, folks, live TV. But if you look at, and let's put all this into context, because every episode that we've had on this series has been progressing, and we've had plans to do one thing and then we shifted and we did another, and that all has to do with how fast this technology in this space is moving. So what you have is ChatGPT started the buzz, right? And it all started, it's based off of large language models, and the generative AI technology is the type of AI that it's based off of. So it predicts the next word, predicts the next best thing in line based off of its data set, and its data set is based off of a large language model. It's called a large language model, or LLM. So what that has enabled us to do is the generative AI can reference a massive data set and make sense of it once it's trained. And ChatGPT, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So it's pre-trained on that large data set to give it this massive knowledge base. And so that's where we're at. And that's what in ChatGPT is the user-friendly interface to provide this information based off of prompts in the form of a chatbot style interface. Then there is the API. The API is what allows people to code their own applications, or enthusiasts or advanced users to use Python code or different types of code languages to access the API and get more functionality out of it. And if you've watched some of our previous videos, I've actually done that by using the API to interface with a Kali Linux operating system to get it to give us commands that work and run them based off of natural language processing, or NLP. And so now there's tons of models being formed. Like I said, it's moving so fast. But one aspect that someone has done has taken these tons of different models and frameworks. There's a framework called LangChains. And what LangChains does is that it's a framework that can take different aspects of the capabilities of the GPT model, or any model. It doesn't have to be GPT, it could be any model. And it can chain together different use cases and applications to it can do training, data training, and all of that. What they've done, and I don't know if they've used the LangChains framework, but they've used something similar. And what they've done is they've created a framework in Python that automates a lot of the things that I know that I, and probably a lot of different people, have been using the ChatGPT for. So for example, if I want to get it to help me write some code, I'll give it a few prompts. I'll ask it and I'll ask it to write different code snippets. If I don't understand something, I'll actually go do some research. Um, but it can't access the internet. So now, because when you combine capabilities of Python, scraping, um, you get the ability to give the GPT, or you get the ability to use ChatGPT and give it the internet access. And then, because it has token limits, you can't give it large documents. You can't give it large text because there are prompt limits and token limits. So then there's a technology, or there's a technique called chunking. And you use Python and different libraries in Python to chunk it, summarize it. So anyway, I don't want to get too technical. I want to get right to the meat of this. And and I want to go ahead and show you what this does. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a kind of a brief demonstration of what this thing does. Then I'm going to show you how to install it and then use it. And then we're going to run some experiments. And there are still some limitations. And I want to just warn you that there are some there's still a few bugs, and there are still some limitations. And then somebody asked, what was the framework called again? So the framework I was mentioning just a minute ago was LangChains. The framework we're talking about today is called AutoGPT. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to show you all of that. But there are some limitations, and it is in the early stages. It's still an experiment. It's not production ready, but it still does a lot. And so, all right, let's get into this. And the first thing I want to show you is, and you know what? Let me make this a little larger so that you guys can read it. All right. So this is the AutoGPT GitHub site. So this is where you access it. And I was going through the code. There's not actually a lot to it. And that's what's really cool. I mean, it's not a huge code base. But what's really amazing is that, I mean, you already have over 31,000 stars or likes on this, 4,000 forks and people using it from different things. And, this is massively popular. Now, it does use the MIT license, which means there are some restrictions on how you can use it commercially, but open source wise, you can use this to your heart's content. All right. So on the GitHub page, and you access it through it's github.com, and you can search for AutoGPT on GitHub, and this is by a user called Tarantulino, and there's a video on here that shows a demonstration of what it does, and I have my own demo that I'll show you. And here's all the features that it currently has. So it's completely autonomous. It will literally run by itself. It'll run overnight doing tasks for you, unassisted by you. And there is it uses GPT-4. Now, if you don't have access to the GPT-4 API, it will also use GPT, the Chat 3.5 Turbo, which is what I have to use. But it has, and so we'll go over all these different things here, but here are the features. It actually has internet access. It will actually research things on Google for you. That is powerful. Okay. It has long-term and short-term memory. So it has short-term memory, it remembers things, and it can remember a lot of context just on your local memory cache, but it also uses pine cones, which I'll show you how to set up for long-term memory. And then it's just it's amazing. All right, so let's get into this. So you will have to have let me go ahead and show you before we start the install. Before we start kind of getting into tech details, let me just kind of show you what it does, what it has done for me. So I'm going to run through. Here's an example of what I have done with it and what I did. And then there's a lot of text here, but I'll break it down. So it remembers what you did last time. This is the default settings. This was a clean install. So it says, welcome to AutoGPT. Enter the name of your AI and its role below. Entering nothing will load the defaults, which is that up there. So I wanted to use this to see, I wanted to give it a very complex task. I wanted to essentially analyze my entire website and give me recommendations and things like that. And so I named it, where is it? I named it Web Marketing Expert. I don't know if you could see my mouse. I'm hoping you see my mouse. So I named it Web Marketing Expert. It says Web Marketing Expert here. I'm at your service. And then I gave it a role. So the role I gave it is, what'd you say, Alex? Okay. What is AutoGPT? No. All right. So it is automated the grunt work. Exactly. So its role is an AI designed to autonomously review a website, analyze it, and make suggestions to improve marketing language, SEO, and user experience. That's a tall order. That's a lot. And then it says to enter goals. And so these goals here, you can only enter up to 5. And the roles were review and analyze the website, my website, compare to industry standards and best practices for web marketing, product marketing, SEO, and user experience, make suggestions to improve marketing language, SEO, and user experience, output as a text file containing the details of the analysis results and detailed actionable suggestions. That's massive. All right. Right off the bat, so yesterday, there were some bugs in the JSON preventing it from doing some things. It still did a lot, but there were some limitations. There's still some JSON parsing bugs, but what's amazing, it corrects itself. And I'm integrated into the GitHub community now, and I'm actually helping them work on some of these things, and I'm getting regular updates. And so these things, the good news is they are actively working on this, and there's updates every day fixing bugs. And this is like I would say this is like an alpha stage. This isn't even beta, somewhere between alpha and beta. But it had a parsing error right off the bat, but then it will actually go through and try to fix it. It didn't fix it, but then it pressed on and went ahead and continued to move forward. And then, so through the error, okay. And then it gives you its first thoughts. I believe I should start with browsing. This is where it started. It generated this automatically. It said, I believe I should start with browsing the website and analyzing it so that I can determine the areas it is lacking in. And then reasoning. Analyzing the website is the first step to carry out the other goals. And then just because the goals that I gave it, it comes up with its own plan. Browse the website, looking for these, analyze page SEO, evaluate website copy and messaging, review website overall user experience. Okay, that's fine. I gave it those. Criticism, none at this point. Then it tells you where it's going and what it's doing. Then it actually goes to the website and it takes everything and it chunks it. Okay, well, I can do that in one chunk. And then tells you what the return was. Then it says, based on the information gathered from the previous tasks, I suggest analyzing and improving the website search engine optimization so that it can rank higher, blah, blah, blah. Reasoning. And it tells you all of this. This is its thoughts. It's a running thought as it goes through this. And then it continues to evolve its thought process based on everything that it discovers. So it gives some reasoning. So then it comes up with a new plan. Analyzing search, conduct keyword search to find relevant keywords to target, improve website copy and messaging, suggest interlinking content, reach out to possible partners for possible backlink, and then criticism. So it critiques itself. One possible criticism of this approach is that it may take some time to see improvements of the website. So anyway, goes through. It continues to go, and as we go through here, you'll see it's asking me now. This has an autonomous mode. Well, it will run through the entire thing until it's finished, and then, or you can tell it every single time it is ready to proceed to the next phase. You can prompt it with a yes, or you can prompt it with yes and automatically run the next set of commands. And so I tried it out running, okay, the next 5 commands, the next 10 commands, the next 20. And then eventually I got to the point, it's like some of this stuff takes a long time. So I just ran it and I let it run overnight. I've done this 3 times and I've used a total of $3 on my tokens. So it's not expensive, and it continues to go through and continue to evolve. Continues here, you'll see it decided that it needed to search Google. On its own, it decided to go to Google and start to search with the term how to conduct keyword search for websites SEO. So it's looking at Google to figure out the best way to perform these tasks. And it goes and it does all this Google research. It comes up with conclusions, comes up with thoughts based on the website content summary. It seems that the website could benefit from more detailed information on customer reviews and testimonials, pricing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then it has more reasoning. It comes up with another plan. Some of it's repetitive, and this is kind of the same plan. And this is okay. We're going to Google some more. This time we're going to Google best practice for WhatsApp copy messaging. It still did that, so it's still going. And this thing ran. I think this went for like an hour. So here it actually it searched Google for how to set up Google Search Console for a website, because what it wants to do, it wants to provide me detailed instructions on all the suggestions that it's making. So it goes and Googles this. It found a huge website content that it had. And so then it chunked it all and summarized each chunk so that it can ingest all of that goes beyond its token limit. So then we have here, it continues to and evolve its questioning and research, how to use page speed insights. It's following a contiguous thought process. More Google searching. What are the best methods for evaluating keywords? Conducting competitor analysis during the keyword. So it starts to do competitor analysis, competitive and competitor analysis for me. Then we do. So here's where we start. They're still having parsing errors. Notice, here's where I started seeing some issues. So it makes these nice plan outlines, and then I started seeing this. It broke. It's starting to include this next line character without a space, and then therefore it doesn't format this output properly. And then at some point through its parsing, it broke the JSON parsing, and probably had something to do with, because there were some odd characters. It doesn't really, to me, what it looks like, it doesn't quite have the ability to analyze some different character patterns in the JSON and account for those. So it breaks the JSON formatting. So it's not necessarily a problem with the code. It's just a lack. It's not a bug in the code. The code lacks the ability to parse. Yeah, exactly, Alex. Parser needs some robustifying. And it just basically doesn't account for some of the odd character patterns that show up. So it kind of breaks it a little bit. And then, but it recovers. It eventually recovers. And so now we have this odd pattern forming, and but it still continues to go through. But what has ended up happening here is now you see we're doing nothing. So suggested adding it's really, it kind of got hung to where it says one way to increase user engagement. It's continuing to give suggestions, continuing to maybe it didn't need to do anything here. What it's doing is it's suggesting things. But I did notice that it didn't, while it's suggesting these, it didn't add anything to the files. And so in the file structure here, you'll see that there's this workspace. And as it's working and makes suggestions, a lot of times it'll put files in here, and it wasn't doing that. And so it needs to be so given your Alex asked, given you're publishing this output anyway, can you Delta debug your logs and send them a bug report? Yes, absolutely. I just that's one, when I mentioned that I'm helping with this process and helping them debug and things like that, that's one of the things that I'm doing. But whenever it finishes, it'll throw an output into the output as well as the logs. But it has a running list of things, and it's supposed to be doing that here. And so if you look, as it's making these suggestions, it should be throwing those into a scratch pad into the workspace there, and it wasn't. And but it is making the suggestions here. So worst case scenario, it's doing its job. Worst case scenario is you can write a script that can parse all of this out and create the end result file yourself. It's just having an issue actually spitting out the output. But it goes through, and as you can see here, it recovers. So at this point, evaluate and optimize. It's still messed up the formatting, but evaluate and optimize the website's SEO elements. And here's where, if you look, it's actually on my website, ThreatGEN.com. What are the website's meta titles and descriptions? So it's basically talking to the GPT agent. It spins up an agent, and it's sending a prompt that's basically saying, on this website, and then it's going to grab the website data, Python will chunk all that up, send that to the GPT chat agent, and then ask it the question, the prompt, which is, what are the website's meta titles and description? Here's it. It's grabbing the website, the characters, it's chunking it, sending that to the agent. And then based on the previous analysis, let's evaluate the optimized web. So it's going through and analyzing that. It's doing this automatically. These are the things that I normally would have been doing if I was going through. And I do have a script that I had planned on doing a video on about how to take large documents and large things and chunk them up with Python. But this takes that place. I mean, because this is doing it automatically. And so it goes through, and it's systematically doing what I would have done, which is taking all the information, chunking it, summarizing it, building prompts for GPT to analyze. Notice I'm saying GPT and not Chat GPT, because when I'm using the API, you may not be using a Chat GPT model. So it goes through, automatically makes its assumptions. Now, if you see here, it recovered. So here's where we had that bad formatting. Here, it managed to recover. So now the formatting's back. We went through without errors. It is now Googling best keywords research tools, because it's looking for their keyword search and SEO optimization. Okay. And here's where it kind of messed up here. Basically, Google returned all this, and then it said, failed to parse AI output, attempting to fix. And I see this often. If you see this warning frequently, it's likely that your prompt is confusing the AI. Try changing it up slightly. Now, what that means is that the way that the Python script, this tool, AutoGPT, is formatting the prompts, it's not optimal for the GPT API and for the prompts and the outputs. So that's what's happening. But failed to parse out, attempting to fix. And it will adjust it. And it does end up fixing it sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, here we're back to that odd formatting. It seems like every time there's a JSON parsing or some sort of formatting error, or a JSON error or some sort of error, you see a mess up in this formatting. And then going down here, it's doing another Google. It's what are the keywords and suggestions for data security? So it has already analyzed. Remember, I never told it what my website is, what my product does, what we do, what I do. It's automatically coming up with a summarization of the products and services and what the website is for. And so it automatically knows, okay, so now it's Googling popular cybersecurity search queries. And it's grabbing all of that information. Now it's going to use GPT 3.5 because I don't have GPT 4 to generate FAQs for popular cybersecurity searches. So keep in mind, most of this, all this text you see, everything that it's working through is mostly Python, but it invokes GPT agents and instances as it needs to. And so that's what we're doing here. It's automatically invoking GPT now to ask more questions. And so you can see here, okay, here's an action. Start an agent. So start a GPT agent. It's called FAQ generator, and it's having GPT generate informative FAQs for popular cybersecurity search queries. And then here's the prompt for that. Please generate FAQs for popular cybersecurity search queries. So it's dynamically, automatically, autonomously creating prompts for the GPT agent based on everything it's done up to this point. This stuff blows my mind. It's replicating what I normally do when I'm prompting GPT, doing research, and it's following a human thought pattern, and it's doing it all automatically, and it's doing it more efficiently and better than I could. All right. So here, sometimes when it says command do nothing, there's no arguments because it's not doing anything. This is where it's going through and sometimes it's because it's not parsing it properly, and sometimes it's because it's not actually doing anything other than giving you suggestions, and it's popping out results, and it's just having thoughts, and these thoughts are being saved in the Python script first, and it's creating a list of things it needs to do. And I love how it comes up with, it has its thoughts, the reasoning behind its thought. Okay, here's a plan, here's what we're going to do, and the potential drawbacks of that particular plan. It literally sits there and reasons with itself on what it's going to do, how, and why. So we went through a long string of commands. Notice I've been telling it to go interrupted without intervention from myself through for every 20 turns. Okay, so now here's where it really started to have issues. And I think part of this might have been because, I mean, it's such a complex task and it's gathering so much information that I may have pushed it beyond its boundaries. And so it said failed to parse AI output, attempting to fix. And again, it might have to do with the fact that, the prompt was kind of unwieldy, but it recovered, came through here, and then, okay, we're going to keep going. And it recovered. So anyway, that's what it does. It goes through, does a lot of stuff. It automates, as you can see here, it started researching competitor websites, products, and services to identify areas of differentiation. Like, it went through the entire process of figuring out what my website does, what my company does, who the competitors are, how good or bad the SEO is, how good or bad the user experience is. It did its own research. It's making its own suggestions. And so far, all I can say is that, I'm disappointed in the output because it did not output the file that I asked it to, but the information is in here. You just have to parse it out. And you can write a script for that. But it really started to derail at some point, and I started getting more and more errors, more and more JSON errors, but it kept going. It kept trucking along, and it kept correcting itself. It would find an error, it would correct itself. It'd find an error, it'd correct itself. So by the end, this probably ran for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I was babysitting it because I wanted to watch it. But it just kept going, kept, mobile friendly. It was testing for mobile friendly. It was literally testing my website to see how mobile friendly, mobile adaptive it is. And then, and then a lot of this invalid JSON stuff, my website may have broken it. I don't know. But then, here it goes back again to my website. Does the website have a clear and concise message that conveys its purpose? So now it's analyzing the marketing message. And again, it's having issues, and I don't know exactly what's causing this. And I'm working with the team. I'm submitting my logs to see if we can figure this out and get it to go continuously without these errors. And then it's asking, okay, now look at my website, analyze it, and Does the website have a clear value proposition that differentiates it from competitors? So it's and yeah, Alex says the robustness and recovery from malformed input is impressive. It is. I mean, it literally recovers itself. I imagine that the way it's recovering, it's probably invoking a GPT instance, and it's probably having GPT look at it and try to figure out what's wrong. And it's probably, I haven't analyzed the code yet, but it's probably using GPT to analyze the issue and to fix itself and to reformat prompts. So then here's what happening. So it got to a point to somewhere. So yeah, so once it got to the part where it says to here's what happened. It invoked a message agent. I'm imagining that's the GPT, but um, it wanted to identify areas where the website could improve its user experience and usability. And I don't know what it was trying to invoke, but it just said key two this time, as opposed to, you can see that's literally where it broke, as opposed to saying URL and then the website and then the question, it just said key two. I imagine that's probably not supposed to, it's probably supposed to have more than key two. I don't know. But that is where it started to break, because then it said key three, message. Please research any technical aspects related to the website, speed, user experience, mobile optimization, et cetera, et cetera. It's getting really detailed. And somewhere in here, it broke, it crashed, missing command object in JSON. So this is where it crashed. It couldn't recover. And then we get this boom, 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 boom. And that's when I killed it. And then we have all this that I can go through and look at, and I can send to the developers, and we can see if we can figure out. It it almost looks like, I haven't looked at it, but now considering you're it's reading from the buffer, and but we may have overloaded it. It may have gotten too big, but I can tell you, there was this message here that said, return an error. The model is currently overloaded with other requests. You can retry your request or contact us through blah, 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 blah. Please include, this is from GPT. So it looks like the API broke. The API went down or something like that, or there was a buffer. The buffer was full. So, and that's what happened. So let's look real quick, and we'll go through some demos of our own, and we'll use it live. But first, let me just show you really quickly how you can install this yourself. And yeah, okay. So the first thing you're going to do is you want to go to GitHub. Now, there's a command line way to do this using Git if you're on Linux or Mac, but I find it, if you're not used to GitHub, if you're used to GitHub, you already know how to do this. So I'm going to show you a different way that doesn't require hardly any learning curve with GitHub. So what you're going to do, first thing you do is you want to go to desktop.github.com, and I could probably, there you go. So you're going to download it, and if it's for Windows, download it here, or for Mac, so you can download it for whatever operating system. You're going to download that. You're going to install it. You probably, if you don't already have a GitHub account, you'll have to establish a GitHub account, sign up with GitHub, create an account. It's free. Once that's installed, you're going to, and then here's my instance here. So once it's installed, you'll go up to here and you'll click add a repository. Okay, clone repository. It's going to bring up this thing right here. You'll give it the directory that you want to put this repository in, and you're literally going to copy this. Where is it at? The others. So you're going to literally just copy the user and the repository into right here. And I'm not going to do it because I've already done it. And then you're going to clone it. And then what that's going to do is Oh, wrong one. I'm fumbling with my controls today. So that's going to create the repository. Now, what's great about this is that you are, once you have that and you're in the repository, anytime they make updates, bug fixes, etc., you can go into, you just click fetch and stay on the master. You don't have access to anything other than their master. So, or I mean, you do have the origin staging, which is kind of their beta, but you have access to their master branch. And anytime they're pushing updates, you can auto fetch or have it fetch, and it grabs the updates, and then you're good to go. So that part is pretty simple. Now, for the install, you're going to have Python. I'm not going to go through that. Hey, you want to have Python installed, and I'm using it on Windows right now, and it works just fine. I guess maybe that's my problems. Maybe that's the reason why it's not working properly. I'm just kidding. I did the same thing on Linux, and it's having the same errors. So you need to have Python installed. You need to have an Open API key, and you need to have a Pinecone API key. Although I have not seen it use Pinecone yet. Maybe there's a switch or a setting you have to have. So in order to get your Open API key, you're going to go to, as you can see, I did this. You can see I've only used $2.28 so far this month since I've been using the API. So you'll just go sign up, and with Open API, it's free, and you will create an API key. That's weird. I was using that one, and it says never used. Either way, you'll create an API key here, and then you'll copy that API key into, there's an environment file. Actually, I'm not going to show you the environment file, but because mine has my API key in it. But there is once you get that cloned, you go to the directory for AutoGPT, and then there is here we go. Not the Google. Well, this is the Pinecone one, but anyway, there's an environment setting. So let's just go down the line here, and I'll get to that point. So once you get the directory cloned, and you can just follow these directions, and they're actually really simple. They're just a few steps. You want to go into the directory where you cloned it into, and then there's already a requirements text. It already has all the requirements in a text file. So you're just going to type pip install -r and then the requirements text file, and it will go through and automatically install, as long as you have Python installed, automatically install all of the requirements. Then from there, you're going to go into the folder, and that is, you're going to rename the env template to, this is what I was showing you. You're going to rename this to that because it's looking for this file. So you rename that, and then you're going to enter your keys. And then so you open that file with a text editor or with Visual Studio Code or whatever, and you enter your API keys. And then that is it. That's all you have to do. At that point, you just run it from a command line by typing Python scripts. If you're in the root directory of the repository, you're just going to type Python scripts /main.py, and it runs. Now, for your Pinecone, and I haven't seen it use it yet, but it does look for it in the environment file, so you do have to have that. So you just go to app or go to pinecone.io, create an account. It's free. Same thing. You'll go to your API keys. And I guess the free, I don't know, from my environment, it's putting me in Southeast Asia region. I don't know why. I think maybe because I'm on a free key, but there are paid plans and everything like that. But either way, you get that, you copy your API key, and you'll put that into the environment file as well. And that's it. That is literally all you do. And so if you want to, let's. Here's one thing I wanted to do. Um, I want to see if it could take a PDF file and analyze it real quick. And so I'm going to use something familiar to most of us real quick. Let me go grab that real quick. I think I forgot. I should have had this queued up. Let's see, ThreatGEN.com slash, is it resources? Alex, can somebody go grab me the link to the user guide, the PDF one online. Let's see, red versus blue user guide. I wonder if that can. I found it. I think no. Apparently, there is a copy of the user guide on Fandom, though. Well, that's convenient. I did not. Yeah, if you can just, I don't know if Greg's watching. Somebody grab that real quick. I'm going to see. I don't have the link readily available to my own dang user guide. I know how to get it real quick. I should have had this queued up ahead of time, and I apologize. And there's a delay, so. Oh, it's on the Steam page. That's where it is. The link to that, you can get to it on the Steam page. That's where I want to go. Otherwise, it's in the portal itself. And I'm sorry, I'm not going through all this with you. I'm not showing my screen right now. There should be the manual. There it is. View the manual. Ta-da! There it is. Okay. I think this is it. Yeah. Perfect. Got it. All right. Now, all right, here we go. So we're going to go ahead and run this, and I'm running it with Python, and I'm adding the --GPT 3 only flag because I don't have GPT-4. So that's going to start up. I do not want to continue with the previous task because that broke and it took a couple hours. All right, so we're going to call this, we're going to call it ThreatGEN Red versus Blue Assistant. Okay, its role is to provide ThreatGEN Red versus Blue strategy and game advice based on knowledge of the game guide. Okay, so we're going to read and learn the ThreatGEN Red versus Blue game guide. Okay. And then let's see. Provide. See, what should we say? We'll just go provide potential winning strategies. Now, of course, there's no statistics or anything like that. I'm just, I guess, how about provide we'll just provide recommended red team strategies. Provide recommended blue team strategies. And then I'll tell it, output the results as a text file. Let's try this out. All right, there we go. It's using local cache. So there's probably a switch there that I have to do to tell it to use Pinecone. Oh, crap. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to tell it about the game guide. Start over. Ah, okay. I don't want it to. Yeah, I have to start all over. All right. Forgot to tell it where the game guide was. ThreatGEN Red versus Blue is probably going to go to the Google and start searching for it. That would have been interesting if we could have found it, but oh well. All right, let's see. ThreatGEN, and it gave me all that crap, the errors, because I canceled out. All right, I'm going to try to just copy all this that I did. Okay. There we go. What do we is? Oh, oh, sorry. I think it's the role or yeah. I'm going to do a little bit different here. Is an autonomous AI that can, yeah, there we go, provide this. Okay, there we go. Now let's copy our goals, and I want to, right here, tell it where the game guide is. That's going to help. There we go. Now, hopefully this works. And I'll just copy all this. There we go. Try the next one. Blue team strategies, and then finally, let's output the results to a text file. Now, hopefully. Okay, there we go. So it's going to have to go to the website now and read that thing, and it's going to grab it, and it's going to chunk it all up. There we go. Okay. So ThreatGEN Red versus Blue. Okay, as a starting point, let's list available commands and see which one best fits the current situation. It's important to be aware. What? This is interesting. Analyze which one is best suited for current needs. Okay, that's kind of generic. And then I'm assuming at some point it's going to, all right, unknown command, list commands. Let's start by identifying what our goal is. Okay, we got that. Clarify the goal. Okay, thank you. That's so it's just getting spun up. At some point it's going to decide to go and grab the okay. All right, there we go. Since we are playing ThreatGEN Red versus Blue game, let's determine whether our role is red team or blue team before proceeding. Oh, okay. The strategies and commands that we'll need to use. This is totally experimental, by the way. Determine whether our role is red team. Okay, we don't know yet. So I guess that would have been good. I should have. I guess. Well, I did tell it to give us red team strategies and blue team strategies. I have. It did not go and grab the PDF yet. I mean, it may have grabbed it, but it hasn't chunked it up. Okay, there we go. There we go. So we'll need to read the ThreatGEN Red versus Blue game guide found at there. Proceed with developing strategies, et cetera, et cetera. So browse the website, search for information, identify the necessary steps. There we go. So interesting. Now, I'm doing it with requiring input and interaction from me after each command so that we can stop and read these. There we go. It grabbed the whole thing. So, oh my goodness. 406 chunks. Please tell me that's not true. Okay. Yeah. However, your message resulted in 6,195 tokens. Please reduce the length of the messages. Well, but I told it to chunk it. It's supposed to grab that. That's one thing it's supposed to do automatically. It's supposed to grab a large document and chunk it up into pieces. So now it's redoing, it's rethinking itself. So now I just went to the ThreatGEN website looking for information because apparently the PDF was too much for it. It didn't like that. So maybe PDFs are not a good thing. So interestingly enough, if I just provided the game guide in a web form instead of a PDF form and sort of like an online wiki, it'd be able to do this. But so it's reverted to looking for the website because it can't grab the PDF. Now I do have a method and a script that can take PDFs and chunk the PDFs. So we'll need to read the thread here. It's going to try it again. Okay. I don't know if it's going to be able to do it. If it can't, then I may actually have to contact the developers and give them my Python scripts that I have that can actually um, take in. Yeah, see, it's doing the same thing. It doesn't know how to chunk a PDF. And I have a script that'll do that. Okay. So the website provided the direct link to download it. Let's download and read the manual. Downloading and read the manual. So now, instead of just trying to read it, it's going to, I guess, download it. But it seems to me it's going to provide the same issue. Yeah, it's unable to. So here's what it has to do. It has to use PDF Plumber, and it's not going to work. If you have the library PDF Plumber installed, then you can use Python's PDF Plumber library to take the PDF file, convert it to a text file, then it can chunk all the text. And so it's unable to do that. So it keeps on looking for ways to download it. Yeah, see, it's searching for another download link. So it looks like this isn't going to be able to work because it doesn't know how to handle PDF files. That is a very easy feature to implement into AutoGPT, and I'm going to help them do that. Yeah, it keeps on trying to do it. I said, this isn't going to work. Okay. Yeah, because I know for a fact in the requirements, PDF Plumber is not there. And let's just double check. I actually have the requirements up here. That's not the right one. Yeah, that's the right one. So I have it here. No. Oh, I don't have the requirements pulled up. Let me pull up the requirements doc real quick. All right, there we go. So, yeah, PDF Plumber is not part of the library. So I'm going to have to help them with that so it can parse PDF files. So let's move on to the next task. We have about 7 minutes left. So let's go ahead and move on to the next task that I wanted to cover. So I'm just going to error out of this. I'm going to keep that going so I can give them the log. All right. Maybe what I'll do is, looks like what I'm going to do is have another stream. It looks like I'm going to end up having to have another stream, the stream that I wanted to have before on how to take large documents and chunk large PDF documents. So I'm going to have that stream while I get, or maybe I'll have the stream, an instructional stream on how to do that, and just give them the video to the stream. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is let's see if we can have it search the web, and let's have it do a little bit of threat intelligence. Okay. Since we know that we can use ChatGPT or the API to find to tell us how to do things systematically, we don't want to replicate that. I want to do something that ChatGPT can't do on its own, such as having to access the web. So let's run this again. And let's call it a cyber threat intelligence analyst. Okay. an AI designed to autonomously research and analyze the most recent cyber threats. All right. So, um, search for the search for recent cyber attacks, uh, groups, and campaigns. Provide a just we'll do something quick. Provide a summary on the most recent activity and the let's see activity on the recent activity for each threat, and then I'm going to have it provide IOCs for each threat, if any, and then output the results to a text file. Here we go. See what this does. And remember, all I did was give it basic instructions. It has to figure out on its own how it's going to execute this. So it says, I believe the next logical step is to conduct a Google search for recent cyber threats. Good on you. So its plan is its reasoning is because it's well known, blah blah blah. Its plan is use the Google search command to search for recent cyber attacks, groups, and campaigns. Analyze. It's basically replicating what I told it to do. Here we go. There's the Google results. No issues so far. So I'll need to analyze the search results that were returned by Google search. I can then focus on the most pressing cyber threats and gather indicators of compromise. Remember, I just said IOC for each threat. Once I've collected the information, I can output the results to a text file. This is pretty cool so far. All right, so let's go. Now I do have a hard stop at at noon. So, and I don't want this to run too long. So we may run a little long depending on how long this goes, but let's see what happens. All right. So now it says, okay, I will start a GPT agent. Now it's invoking the GPT to assist in the analysis of the search results and identification of cyber threats. So it's going to start a new GPT agent. So it went to the web on its own. Python went to the web, gathered the information. Now it's going to send that information to GPT in the form of a prompt to enlist the help of GPT. All right. Command started, agent returned. So it's created the agent, first response. I apologize, but as an AI language model, I do not have access to specific Google command that can be used to search the internet. Well, of course, that's why. Okay, I will message the GP agent providing the necessary context. See, it automatically, so the response came back and says, hey, I can't do that. I can't access the internet. So then it automatically says, okay, well, I'm going to provide you the context. Context. I have that. I'm going to provide it to you. So it's going to send that information so that the GPT agent can analyze it, which is what I would do, right? I would have to go do the research, go get the context, then provide that context to GPT to have it analyze the context. So it does this. And it can do that because it's all in text form. It's arguing with it. I still do not have access to the Google command, but I can provide a general overview of the recent cyber attacks, groups, and campaigns based on publicly available information. So it should be. Well, we'll see how far it goes. So ask the GPT agent to narrow down the most relevant cyber threats from search results. Yeah, so based on the information provided. So it looks like that it gave the search results that it found to the agent. Now it's telling it to narrow down the results. And I'm curious, while it's doing that, I'm looking to see if it's got anything in the has not put anything in the workspace yet or the outputs folder. It's thinking. All right. Certainly. Here's and this is the output that GPT is giving AutoGPT, the framework here, which is a combination of Python, Python libraries, and GPT. So this is what it's telling you. This would not be difficult to parse the output for with a script if you needed to do this, if it's not effectively giving you the text output in the form of a file. So here we go. So, use the IOCs and other information provided to the agent to generate a summary. Hopefully this finishes before, well, it's already 11:30. We're going to go a little bit late. I apologize, but I want to see this thing through. And hopefully this doesn't take nearly as long. There, it's getting close to being finished. Oh yeah. Say, okay, so it says, write the summary. Okay, here we go. I will write a summary of the most pressing cyber threats to a text file. It's important to ensure that this information gathered is stored in a secure. Thank you for the reminder. Write the summary of identified cyber threats to a text file. Ensure the file is organized, well formatted, and easily understandable. Thank you. Secure the file to ensure it's only accessible to authorized personnel. How's it going to do that? But okay. Store the file where it can be easily retrieved if needed. Okay. I need to ensure that the written summary contains only the relevant information and it's not too lengthy. That's its own criticism. So then it's going to provide a file called Cyber Threat Summary, summary of identified threats, and it's going to provide, I guess, that doesn't seem like it's a lot of information there, but so okay, well, let's have it do that. Cannot write to file, return, file written to successfully. Okay, command, write to file, return, file written to successfully. Okay, I will now launch the GPT agent to automate the task of browsing news sites for any updates. Whoa, it's just going to keep on going. Use GPT agents for the tasks that are repetitive by delegating the task to automate the task. So wait, so this is where it's not going to work. Launch the GPT agent to automate the task of browsing new sites for any updates on recent cyber attacks. That's not going to work. It's not going to automate browsing. And if it does, I don't know, let's see how that works. It's going to come back and say it can't. I love how it argues with itself. I mean, it's okay. First response understood after conducting a quick search. What? Okay, I came across several news articles about recent cyber attacks. Here are some. Okay, JBS footage. Oh, in June 2021. It's not going to find anything after 2021 though. It's not browsing the internet. If it comes up with anything after 2021, I'm going to have to assume that it's automating the process. Python is going to the internet, getting the information, feeding it to the GPT agent. Or GPT's hallucinating. It's telling it to browse the internet. It convinced it to browse. It convinced that it could browse the internet, and it's just looking through its data set to find past results. Because these are old. I mean, JBS Foods, that's old. I mean, in terms of cyber threat intelligence standards. Interesting. And still okay. So now, so here's Python. So the framework itself is going to Google and looking for recent cyber campaigns, and so it has found recent ones. Okay, so that's interesting. But see, when it does that, when it goes through and gathers a lot of context, notice that's when it starts to screw up the formatting. That's when it starts to kind of break. That's when the derailing starts. So um, I like this. I need to ensure that the GPT agent is not producing information that is irrelevant or incorrect. So it fact checks itself. I don't know how, but it claims that it's fact checking itself. Yeah, now it's arguing with itself. I apologize for any confusion earlier, as I, an AI language model, do not have access to the specific search results for the Google command. However, based on general publicly available, yeah, see, it's kind of going back. It's giving generic information about threats, but I think then what the framework, what AutoGPT is going to do, is says, fine, I'll go and get the information for you. But instead, it's saying, it's messaging the agent, and it's saying, can you please provide IOCs for each of the identified cyber threats? Well, if they're recent, it's not going to know what those IOCs are. What I was expecting this thing to do is for the Python agent to go out and Google these things, take the text results, give it back to the GPT agent, summarize it, and then based on that summary, go out and Google search more, send that information to GPT, and then go out and Google for IOCs of the recent threats, give that to GPT. Basically, Python, the agent, is the Python part of AutoGPT is supposed to go out and do the internet searching and all that work. It feeds the text information, and it feeds that information in the form of text back to the GPT agent for it to analyze and get that information. So apparently it's writing another file. I'm going to check on that here in a minute. All right, let's let it keep going. I'm going to check real quick while it's doing that to see. It is writing these files, by the way, and it's not too bad. I'll show you here in a minute. Oh, cancel. But they're very generic, and I'll show you here in just a minute. And this is it's in the workspace though. It's not putting it in outputs at all. Okay. All right. So that this file written successfully. I don't. All right. I'm going to go ahead and show you the output here in just a minute, and probably let's see. What is this? Is it long-term memory? I will use. So is it starting to access pine cones now? Maintaining the state of long-term memory. Reviewing and maintaining the long-term memory can help to ensure that important information is not lost or forgotten. By using the do nothing command, I can take a moment to reflect on my actions and evaluate my performance, making updates and changes to improve future performance. So it will save everything to long-term memory in Pinecone, which is essentially it's a vector. It takes text and information and embeds it into like a database form that's vectorized so it can easily be accessed. Looks like it's done. So I will use task complete command to complete the current task. I think it's just about done. Yeah. So it thinks it's done. So let's see what it has done. Let's go to the files. And so there's nothing in output. Okay. Those logs, I put those there. So it's in AutoGPT workspace. So here's the cyber threats. Now, and here's what is interesting. And let me just go to the files. Oh, sorry. Let me go to the text. Is that not showing up for you? Hold on real quick. Let me fix that for you. It's not showing up. And I don't know if it will show up. It looks like my link to the text file broke. Okay. Let me just share my screen. All right. And I'll have to just expand this for you real big. Okay. So it says cyber threats and indicators of compromise. So ransomware, it's very generic. Ransomware, IP addresses of command and control servers, hashes. So these are high level generic IOCs, but nothing real specific. Somewhat useful, but not what I was asking for. And so if you look at the cyber threat summary, summary of identified cyber threats or ransomware attacks, it's not providing any level of detail. Yeah, the ransomware attacks, okay, phishing attacks. These are just general cyber threats. So, again, I'm not happy with it's very generic output, and I don't know if and when you get down to it, I don't know if it's limited by the my prompts. I don't know if I'm not telling it enough detailed information. Now, keep in mind this whole thing, this AutoGPT was meant to be a business helper and help you research business ideas and maximize profit and things like that. But it doesn't matter. It's a task oriented systematic thing. It does the same things. It does research. It provides information, provides feedback, no matter what task it is. But the problem is it's providing very basic, very generic output. And I know you can see, it's going out and getting the information. It's going and getting the details. It's doing the work, and it's getting the information. So it probably has something to do with you need to prompt it to give a lot more specific information. Maybe the prompt engineering scripts, the Python scripts need to be worked on. Maybe the whole purpose of AutoGPT is only meant to provide you a very high level list of ideas. And so maybe that's what's needed. Maybe I don't know if maybe I need more detail in the role. I don't know if I need to provide it more detailed goals, but this is like my fourth time doing this already. And every single time I've done it, I was very detailed in the goals to tell me, give me specific information and details. And every time it gives me very high level generic information, like we've seen. And that leads me to believe that the prompts and the prompts are in the Python scripts. It's not a lot of scripts. If you look at this, so here's the scripts. I mean, that's it. And there's just a few in here. There's not much there. So here's your prompt data. But there's these scripts here, all very small. You have a few of the config files and things like that. Tests. This is kind of stuff it uses. This is all output stuff. That's the GitHub. These are not part of it. That's part of the GitHub thing. So there's very few files. So it's not that difficult to go through. And I didn't say jinkies. Alex says that he said I said jinkies. I didn't say jinkies. Did I say jinkies? Anyway, so I think the prompts, because the original purpose of AutoGPT was to provide kind of business ideas and business advice, it's probably meant to provide just very high level ideas and a list of things. And so that can probably be improved by the types of prompts that you give it. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to search and I'm going to kind of research some ideas. I mean, there's over 74 different branches or forks from this project that other people are doing. So I imagine people are doing the same thing. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through, I'm going to look to see if I can improve the end results by improving the prompt engineering and see if that does it. I'll go through the community and ask people if they've noticed the same thing. But this has real potential. And like I said before, how it does things and how autonomous it is freaks me out. It's the end results that I'm not happy with. It's not a production product yet. It is an experiment, as they claim. So at the end of the day, this thing is still scary and it's got a lot of problems. I'm going to play with this more. I'm going to have more streams. As I find out more, I'm going to have more streams on using this. In the meantime, I am going to have a stream on my method of taking large documents and chunking them and analyzing and summarizing them, because I think that's useful. And then I'm going to see if I can get that put into this and add that as part of the AutoGPT process. But in the meantime, I mean, this thing's scary, and it's fun to play with. It's not hard to install. Give it a shot. It's only going to improve over time. So that's it. That's AutoGPT. And and once it's polished, this thing can be scary for cybersecurity. It can be scary for the bad. I mean, it can be used for evil purposes, but also it can be really cool for improving your cybersecurity skills and abilities and enhancing your ability to perform cybersecurity tasks for both blue team and red team. So with that said, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for viewing, and we'll see you next time.